2003, 41-year-old veteran construction worker Ron Hunt was part of a crew that was building a house in Reno, Nevada. Ron knew the first thing he needed to do was drill a couple of large holes in the ceiling of one of the rooms in this house. As soon as he got to the job site that morning, he climbed up the ladder a couple of steps and began punching holes in the ceiling with this drill. But when he got down and moved the ladder to another section of this room, when he got up there, he could not get the drill to go through the ceiling. He knew there was nothing behind the ceiling that would stop the drill from going through. He decided he just needed a little bit of extra leverage. He walked to the very top of the ladder, the dangerous section you're not supposed to stand on. He lines up this drill. He begins squeezing the trigger and at the same time pushes with all that extra leverage. And he feels the drill starting to go into the wood that he's not realizing. He's pushing down with his feet, and at some point he pushes too hard and he causes the ladder to spill out from underneath him. Ron tried to throw the drill away from him, but he wasn't able to throw the drill far enough away from him. The drill, when it hit the ground, landed on its back with the drill pointing straight up into the air. When he fell down face first, his right eye socket landed directly on the drill. This 18-inch long, 1.5 inch in diameter drill bit goes right through his eyeball, through his skull, and punctures out the back of his head. But he's conscious. He just reaches up with his hands and he feels the base of this drill and he feels it going into his eye, and then he feels around the back of his head and the rest of the drill coming out of his skull. And at that point, he just starts screaming. The only other worker on the job site at the time was this man named Forrest. He hears Ron screaming, and so he runs over and he sees Ron, who's now standing up, cradling the drill base. And Forrest, he can't believe Ron is even alive. He rips his shirt off, runs over to Ron, and kind of wraps it around his head to try to control the bleeding a little bit. And then he tells Ron to stay where he is. And then Forrest ran about 1,000 feet away to the nearest house, and he was able to use their phone to call paramedics. The paramedics arrive, they go over and they detach the drill base from the drill bit. So all that's left is the actual 18-inch rod that's been pushed through his head. And then they take Ron via ambulance to a local hospital, and from there they actually fly him in a helicopter to a bigger hospital that can handle this kind of injury. They rush him to the operating room. The surgeons decided their best bet was just to unscrew the bit from his head. And so they gave him some morphine, and then over the next couple of hours, the doctors slowly twisted this piece of metal until it finally unwound itself out of his skull. Ron, who was so high on painkillers, was cracking jokes. Ron would survive. The worst thing that happened to him is he lost the sight in his right eye. The surgeons would tell Ron that the only reason he didn't die or get paralyzed is because when that drill bit went into his skull, it kind of pressed his brain aside as it passed through.